Welcome to Edit 695. Tonight we are celebrating our portfolios and end of MSIT projects. So I hand over to the first presenter. Please introduce yourself and you have exactly 15 minutes.
Okay. My name is Ryan Lark, and I'm going to share the screen here. And what I did for my presentation is I created a screencast. I incorporated my ePortfolio and a little bit of PowerPoint slides to show some of my highlights, some of my struggles, and a few artifacts. So here we go.
My name is Ryan Lark, and this is my final presentation on my portfolio and my experiences. First, here's a little bit about me. I'm a special education teacher. I teach math, science, social studies, and ELA. I teach in an integrated co-teaching setting. It can be overwhelming with different subject areas, but it has taught me to work with different people with different styles of teaching. Another thing about me is that I know sign language and have run an after-school club to learn sign language. The picture of music notes represents my love for music and bringing it into the classroom. It is so interesting to see students remember every lyric to their favorite song, but they cannot remember a formula for math or a timeline of events in social studies. I think adding music into the classroom is helpful for students to remember information, and I enjoy doing it with them. My teaching philosophy involves embracing students for their differences. I think it is so important to make connections with students and try to understand their world. I want to be able to motivate and encourage students to want to learn, not just because they think they have to. Ever since learning about UDL, the Universal Design for Learning, I have been very big into bringing that into the classroom. I really try to incorporate the 3 principles to help students. The 3 principles are representation, the what, action and expression, the how, and engagement, the why of learning. I try to incorporate technology whenever I can, and I hope that other educators start to as well. My vision is that technology can help foster that creativity for students and allow them to express their knowledge that they may not have been able to do before with just a paper and a pencil. I want to help educators understand that technology is a powerful tool, but it does not become the learning outcome. Before I talk about some of my struggles and triumphs, here's a link to my ePortfolio. I created my ePortfolio using Evernote, which is a great place to organize and keep different assignments. My ePortfolio is color-coded according to each standard. I have attached my artifacts and rationales for each one to demonstrate that I have met the different ISTE standards for coaches. In organizing and finding artifacts to support each ISTE standard, I was able to really reflect on where I was when I first started the MSIT program to where I am now. In Standard 1, I used a PowerPoint I created to advocate for STEAM. Many of these artifacts have helped me come out of my comfort zone and explain or show things that other educators may be quite unfamiliar with. In Standard 2, I created a technology integration plan with a 5th grade ELA teacher. A lot of time and effort went into this plan in order to help her students. We went through different tools, implemented them with her students, and figured out which tool she would like to continue with going forward for her ELA unit. In Standard 3, I used a blog I created as an artifact. My plan is to continue using and updating this blog to help educators. For Standard 4, I have a PowerPoint that I created all about assessments. It explains the purpose, why it's important, types of assessment, and how technology can be used to help with assessments. Standard 5 contains a lot of artifacts to help with digital citizenship. Digital citizenship is so important and should be discussed all throughout school years. This YouTube video is something I created to share with teachers about digital communication. I tried to have the information come from the student perspective. I wanted value to the video. This short video could easily be passed along to help teachers understand it a little more. There are even resources at the end for teachers to check out to help their students. Standard 6 shows some professional developments that I have attended. It is so important to continue my education and my learning. Being a lifelong learner will help me stay updated and current, which will allow me to coach my colleagues and fellow educators. Going back to struggle and triumphs, I wanted to share two things. My first experience relates to Storyboard That. Storyboard That is a free online story creator. Students are given templates to work in to create different scenes and characters. I helped coach an ELA teacher who wanted to do something fun and creative for book reports. A lot of her students struggle with written expression and can't seem to get their thoughts down correctly on paper. After implementing this project with the students, so many of her struggling students were able to shine through. Here is an example of one of the students' work. The student was able to manipulate the scene, the characters, the text, and the storyboards. This student, who often struggles to write complete sentences and express their knowledge, was able to focus and create such a beautiful storyboard. The teacher was thrilled with her students' presentations, and that just made me feel better knowing that I could help her and her students feel successful. My other experience is with the tool Padlet. This was a struggle in the beginning for me. I worked with a social studies teacher for implementing Padlet into her classroom. In my head, I thought I explained everything, but that was not the case. As you can see in this screenshot of part of the wall, some students were not taking the assignment seriously. I sat down again with the teacher and we created expectations and points that the students would get based on their responses. As Padlet was used more often, the students began to get used to what their teacher was looking for in responses, and the silly comments stopped. Using this tool was so wonderful for struggling learners. The teacher allowed more than text to be on the wall. The students could post videos or pictures as long as it related to the topic or question posed. Some things that I've learned are to be prepared. I can't just throw a PD together the day of the presentation. These things can take time. Being prepared also goes along with that no matter how prepared you are, you never know what types of questions you will get or technical difficulties. That leads into that mistakes can be experiences. If things don't go the way I planned, I know that it's all right. Sometimes the best experiences are the ones we are not prepared for. I also like to stress how much we can learn from mistakes. Oftentimes, I love when students point things out to me that I didn't know or didn't realize about a tool. Plus, they love when they can share something a teacher may not have known. I have always thought of myself as a patient person, but being a technology coach and leader has helped me know that it is key. No matter how many times you say something, show something, or explain something, you will still get the same question and may need to repeat it numerous times. When doing professional development, I learned how important it is to utilize the principles of adult learners. They become the students, and I want to keep them engaged so that they can use what I'm giving them with their students. That is also why I learned how important it is to create meaningful experiences for them. I want them to feel they are getting something out of what I am trying to teach or show them. I also want them to know I am there to continue the support after I have helped them with something or done professional development with them. I know I talked about being a lifelong learner before. It is crucial to continue learning for myself so that I can help other educators and students. I have learned so many important things throughout my time at NYIT, and I will continue to grow as a learner, a leader, an educator, and a technology coach. I plan to update my artifacts as needed and continue to help other educators integrate technology to help themselves and their students.
That was my screencast.
Beautiful. It was, how can I say, exemplary, very beautifully done.
Thank
Very
you.
impressive work. And the only question I have, like how the subtitles showed up on my screen. Did you make those in the background? Did you make
Yes, I when I did the recording, I scripted it. So I typed in everything, then recorded the audio, and then went back to do the video portion.
Is that your phone?
Yes, I'm sorry.
No, just mute yourself while we're all unmuting ourselves and asking you questions or commenting on your work. All right, Lauren, what do you think?
I think that the video is a very smart way to go because as you were going, I took all the notes to make sure that I hit for my presentation so I didn't miss anything and to make sure that it was long enough. I do have a question though. I really like that you have a video for your digital standards there.
Yeah.
And I was just curious if you made it for a class or if you made it upon request for like a coaching task type thing.
Originally I did make it as part of an assignment for a class, but then after viewing it and then thinking, well, digital citizenship is important, I did share it with some of my fellow coworkers, which was kind of cool.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
How about you, Jen? And Shanice? Hi.
I thought your presentation was lovely. I'm kind of scared to go after you now.
Oh, no.
No. You actually
I really love the format of the video and also having the subtitles done. You did a great job.
Thank you.
And you also mentioned how, what, and what was it? How, what, and why of learning, right? So having the subtitles, that kind of gives that extra focus, right? If you're a student, learn by reading as opposed to hearing, so you're hitting all the brain functions as well. So that was lovely. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Loved it.
All right, Jennifer, you're next, right?
I think I am.
Go ahead.
15 minutes.
We'll put ourselves.
Let me just pull my stuff up.
Absolutely.
All right. So I'm going to share my screen. So here's I'll go to my welcome page. And one of the things I believe in, I believe that knowledge is power. I came from the financial area of work. And so teaching is new to me. And I love that I have the knowledge and the power per se to really fulfill a dream. This is a dream of mine. I always felt as if, and I can tell you that I did about 20-something, could be 30-something years in on the stock market. I worked in a brokerage firm. And I think those years prepared me for teaching a lot. But I can tell you that even with not making the money that I'm making, that I used to make, that I find teaching so fulfilling. And like I always say, this is my mantra, knowledge is power. So if I have the knowledge, I'm going to pass it on. I just think that's how, we empower each other, is by passing things on. So I use Portfolio, Jen, to do my portfolio. And some of the things that I'm going to look at, I'm not going to look at all my standards. I am going to look at 3, 4, and part of 6. So here we go. So for SC3, what I did was I did this for a class, and I also took it into my classroom to teach my students. And I found that this was an awesome tool because, as you all know, different level of learners, you will find different level of learning, of how students learn. And so I found that PowerPoint, science lesson was so awesome because it created a new instructional platform for my students. And it just gave a much deeper complex as far as the skills I wanted them to require, and also the concepts that I wanted them to grasp. So for me, it was pretty useful, just giving my students a different platform as to how we learn and how we can learn. It was also refreshing for me, because here it is, I was also learning with my students, because of course it was new to students with these Chromebooks, and not every slide worked on the Chromebooks. And so we had to be pretty innovative into how we looked at each slide and how we learned. So that was one of the things I loved about doing that. So I'll go back to my, can't find my thing. My internet is a little bit slow. So I'm going to look at the 3C. Now, this was a presentation that I did. I did it in class, but I actually had people on my grade level and just taught them how to use Jing to get screenshots, especially when you're teaching math and you have a board that does have all the requirements, all the math tools that you need to use. So I used this in school, but I also used it to teach some of my colleagues. They found it very interesting. It was an awesome PD. I am not a shy person. I always tell my audience, the only thing about me is that I have an accent, and that's about it. But it was so refreshing to stand in front of my colleagues and really share something with them. I think this was my first presentation to my colleagues. So I was very, very happy about the outcome. Just using Jing to incorporate, especially from math, when you have a smart board and you don't have all the tools that you need. So that was one of the things that we used. I'm also going to talk about 3C, because I think this is pretty awesome also. And what this was it's the same thing. Yeah, together. So slow. Okay, so I did this class also, and on my wing I have two special ed classes, and one of the teachers and I worked together when I was doing this paper for class. And I found out so many things about students that struggle, because I teach the mastery kids in the school district that I teach. These are kids that are way above proficiency level. So it was very interesting to sit with this teacher and to see the struggles that students have, which I didn't see from my end, and how assistive technology can help students just by giving them a Chromebook or just giving them a pencil grip. It was just awesome to see little things that I took for granted, and not knowing as a new teacher coming in, and not seeing education from a different end, because like I said, I have the students who are in the mastery program. So it was pretty refreshing to kind of learn about this and how you can use tools, assistive technology tools, to help students to get where they need to get. Okay, so I'm going to go to, I think a lot of people might know about this. It's a tool that we use in our class. I'm going to go back to EC here. And about is Google Classroom. Now, as you can see, these two are my classrooms, because I teach math, science, and social studies. My partner teaches ELA. Now, Google Classroom is one of the things that I ask teachers, please, you need to try this. It's an awesome tool. Now, if you look on this side of my screen, you will see we have a page, a classroom for resources. So if you're a teacher in another classroom and you find a nice resource, you can tag it onto this. I also collaborate with another teacher in another 4th grade class with students who are struggling. So there are times when we share things, we'll share a video, or we'll have discussion back and forth in the classroom. I'll just open one of my classrooms just to show you some of the things that we do when we use Google Classroom. For instance, my students, now we have to take maps, which we do every quarter. And here I've posted a link for my students to practice on CAD Academy. If there's a project that they have due, this is where I could put it. We have homework assignments. We have anything, a video about science, anything can be posted on Google Classroom. One of the things I love about Google Classroom this year that they've changed is that you could also add parent contact. So parents know what's happening in your school, the larger community could be a part of it, and it's just a nice way of having that everything in one place. It's a great tool for students to go back and review. Like for instance, we did sink and float games. Just having students go back. It's the place where they can go back and just look at stuff. Another thing that I like about Google Classroom is that it can be accessed inside of the classroom or outside of the classroom. So I always encourage teachers to kind of get on board. Some teachers are scared of technology, but once they get into start using Google Classroom, they realize that it has so many things to offer. Now, I am going to also look at, it's the standard 5B. If I were in school, I would not be able to do this because we have a block on Facebook. Now, we're starting to, sorry about that, I'm trying to get my EC. We're starting to, as teachers, getting into Facebook because for our district, the students are blocked from using Facebook. But for teachers, I have given this out. I've encouraged teachers to have a platform. For instance, if it's a grade level platform where we can share resources, we can talk about things, we can keep everything in one place. Because so many times teacher will tell you about something, but you don't really have a place to record it at that time. And so this is a great place for teachers to collaborate and like to share resources and kind of know what's happening in and around teaching and education. So this is one of the things that I encourage all my colleagues to get on board with. Like I said, if we need access, my district will give it to us if it is for the teacher's platform. It's a great place for PED also. And so that's one of the things I encourage teachers to do. We use Google because we're a Google school, and one of the things I usually do, I usually teach teachers or coach teachers on how to use Google Slides. So I just wanted to share 2 things that I've seen students do. One of the assessments that I've taught other teachers to use is s'mores, which we all know. So I just wanted to share with you one of the things that another student in another class that I coach a teacher, what he did. I think they had a project for Black History Month. And this student did a marvelous job. As you can see, that was their first time actually using s'mores to create a flyer. So that was pretty awesome to see that I had gone into this classroom, spent a couple of days, had to go from basics because a lot of us didn't know how to embed a link, didn't know how to copy and paste a picture. So it was just awesome for the teacher to share with me the student's work. So it's just showing you what's going on here, how the student was able to do that. So that was really nice to see. One of the things I also wanted to share with you is, I'll go back to my page, is about while doing a class. One of my last class practically. And it's something that I really, really love. I created this flyer for class, but I have it in my classroom and my internet is very slow. And so it has become a top point in my classroom when people enter, because they want to find out what this TPAC is about. And so I kind of explained to them that I'm new to it. I'll just enlarge this so you can see it. Oh, it's not behaving. Okay. I'm hoping that you can see it as it is right now. So this flyer no, I made it too big. This flyer I created, and my computer is just not cooperating. Okay, so I'm going to leave that alone. Go to something else. This is a flyer I created, and I have it in my classroom. And like I said, it has become a topic of conversation because not every teacher has heard about TPAC. I was introduced to TPAC while being at NYIT, and I really saw during that class how it can be useful to each and every one of us as teachers. So this is one of the things that I try to share with each teacher that I meet along the way. And like I said, it's something pretty new for them. One of the things that I can say that I struggle with this semester, or, you know, just coaching in general, I think Ryan mentioned that about being patient. There are times when I have to keep saying the same thing. One of the things that I find very useful is doing screenshot or using Jing to kind of go back and reinforce what's talked about. So that is, I would think, one of my main struggles, because in our district, we have technology. I cannot tell you, iPads, Chromebooks, we have everything. But I tend to find that teachers are very much afraid of using technology. But as far as the struggle, I think that's the only struggle I have. It's just to be patient with teachers, especially the ones that have no regards for technology. Some teachers don't, especially older teachers. Younger ones are more open to listen and to try new things. That's really my struggle. And that's my presentation.
Thank you. Thank you very much. But you also emphasize the same thing we've been emphasizing. I think patience, patience, patience with so many of these teachers who, first of all, well, let me tell you that they need to see it is working. That's why those student projects just show me that it looks so professional, that Black History Month. So once they see a student project like that, then they're convinced. I think the teachers need to understand they don't need to know everything.
Right.
Just providing access to the students is all they need, because students already, you know, technically savvy, but they need still digital tickets and all other stuff. So overall, I think students just need that access. Beautiful, beautiful work.
Right. I personally think that students are more open to using technology and trying new things. The teachers are the ones that are very afraid of technology. The kids can't wait to get on, because I am a strong believer that not every assessment has to be paper and pencil. I'm a strong believer in that. And I try to incorporate that, especially, you know, as I would call myself a brand new teacher. This is my 4th year. So I never liked paper and pencil when I was in school. I wish I had projects or just even technology as we have it today to kind of show what I know and show it in a different way. So like I said, the students are open. I tend to find that it's the teachers who are just not open-minded and not ready to, and like you said, when they see stuff like that, everybody in my district, in my building, wants to do s'mores right now. Everybody wants to do s'mores because they've seen the product. So
at one time I studied pedagogy of plenty versus pedagogy of poverty. And more and more of the schools, when you go, when you see the project-based learning, when they are doing all these new innovations, you tend to see that also the parents are more rich neighborhoods and so on. So I realized pedagogy of plenty has nothing to do with a lot of technology. It's just the um, mindset of the teachers looking at the students thinking, I'm going to make a difference one student at a time. I want to make this classroom very innovative. It's all about the teachers looking at the students and believing in them. Otherwise, we continue to create classrooms where the pedagogy of power doesn't play, where it's on drill and grill, right? Very, very exciting. Thank you so much. All right, Shanice, I think I'm just gonna jump quickly, unless, we have some new people join. Hi, Gina. Hi, Celinda. If you would like to comment and give feedback to Jennifer, you're welcome to unmute yourself. And Shanice, get ready. You're next.
I just wanted to make, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. No, you're good, Ryan. Go first.
I just wanted to make a comment. First of all, I loved your presentation, but I also liked how some of your artifacts showed different ways like teachers to stay connected with each other. Because I feel like it's always like, oh, how can we get the students to do this? What are we going to show the students? So it was nice to see some of the ways that like it's just a teacher resource for each other. Because I'm already thinking of ways that I can kind of use what you were using to make sure that some of my teachers stay connected with one another. I like seeing that in yours.
I think it's for us because we're in a huge building, and so you might go days and not see a teacher.
Right.
And there are times when like one teacher never heard about Kahoot, and we're like, the whole building is using Kahoot. And so I said, we need a platform where we can put everything, and when you need it, if you're thinking about using something, you can go there and kind of, play around and see what works for your student.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of you having to walk, to another teacher's classroom, it's there. It's right there. You click on it.
Right.
It's right at your fingertip.
Yeah, easily accessible.
Absolutely. So that works.
I was going to say something similar, and I really like that you use Google Classroom for it because our school is going to Google. And granted, I did a PD session for it where I taught the teachers how to use it, but I didn't even think to have a spot where all of the teachers are joined into that so that anytime something comes up, that's somewhere to go with it. That's a fantastic idea. So I'm going to steal that from you. Thank you.
We're all stealers.
No. We are all collaborators.
Collaborator.
We learn from each other. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. All right, Shanice, it's all yours.
Hi, guys. I'm going to share my screen if I can figure out where it is. Okay. I'm just going to talk about 3 parts of my digital portfolio, and then I'm going to show everyone one of the assignments that I'm really most proud of, which is the yearbook that I worked on with my students. So for standard 1, just like Jen, my school's really big on anything Google Apps. So right now this is Google Classroom. We love Google Classroom. It's easy for us to organize information for kids, distribute information that's necessary, and it's also easy for students to collaborate and have different discussions. A lot of the teachers will post a discussion question, and students will comment on things. My internet may be a little slow. So this just shows one of the links where I usually post my Google presentations, and my students will comment back and give any of their assignments so that I have the date and time that students submit different things. And they also turn in all of their assignments here. It makes it easy for me to see when things were turned in and which students do not necessarily complete things. The next thing that I will share is from standard 3, which is Instagram in the classroom. I think it's very important for teachers to find different ways to communicate with kids, and a lot of students are very much into Instagram and Facebook. Instagram more so because they like the ability to post different things, and it's really cool for us to use hashtags for things. My students, however, think that Instagram in the classroom is not fun, and they think I'm old and I shouldn't be using it. But it is my goal for next year to make this a requirement for the students, where they will have to submit different assignments via Instagram, where they'll take screenshots of things and post using different hashtags. So, for example, we can probably post a little math question, and students will comment what the answer is. Or if we're doing, well, this would be a really great project for history if MLK had an Instagram and they can choose different things that they want to showcase. But for math, it can be in terms of homework, or it can be a problem of the week where students will answer and respond to. So for me to do that next year, I would put this as part of a requirement for class participation, where the kids would probably have to respond to a certain number of posts per marking period just to get them in the habit of doing it. And the last one is for Standard 6, where we had to create, using PowerPoint, an interactive interface. I never knew that PowerPoint could be so interactive and really fun. There were so many different animations that were involved with this project. I decided to create a lesson on function, which helped my students to review for a major assessment they had. They were able to get the notes section, which had notes for them. There were practice problems. There were also different exams, and they were able to review based on the different functions. A couple of them really enjoyed this part of the assignment, while some of them are not. They hate the fact that math is moving towards the technology portion because they feel like it's harder for them to keep track of their work, and they're not able to show a lot of their work. But I'm hoping that with the increase of me possibly using these different things, that I can possibly push for my principal to order maybe more iPads or surfaces where the students can possibly write on, so that they can actually show their work or maybe take screenshots of it. And last but not least, I did a lot of my coaching assignment on the actual yearbook for my school. This is our very first graduating class. So I spent a lot of time showing my students how to use Paint to create layouts, and all of the layouts that they created basically mimicked Google, LinkedIn, Facebook, and there was something else. But they basically, I showed them how to create these on Paint, and they went back and just added the different names of different things. So our very first page, it's almost like the homepage for Google, but it's actually our school name. And then they had the little Google search, if they were to type things in, what would actually pop up as the table of contents. And for the LinkedIn option, they basically use staffing. And this is probably the major thing that I'm really, really proud of for this assignment. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
That yearbook is awesome.
Thank you.
And you know what? And it's very, kids are very much into social media and all of that. And so the fact that like it is what they do, I think is just fantastic.
Very, very.
Thank you. I hope they like it.
One teacher in my school has on a bulletin board, it's all like Instagram themed, like you were saying. So they'll have like Man Crush Monday, and then some historical figure pertinent to their unit will be changed, throughout the week, and then throw back the different days. And unfortunately, it did become, like you said, the teacher facilitating it mostly, because the kids like I don't know why they see it this way. I guess I can relate if you think to being a teenager and you having your niche, your thing, and then your teacher takes it and tries to make it academic, and you're like, nah, leave it alone. But I'm sure if you started with like requiring it in pieces, like, okay, this week you're assigned to doing this, and this week you're assigned to doing this post, and then, like, letting it rotate maybe would be a way to not take all of the enjoyment out of them, where it's like always mandatory, and then they can kind of take ownership and have time to think about it, because they are self-conscious about what they post. Think about how many hours they painstakingly decide on the right profile picture and captions, right, for their own accounts. So they are worried about what their classmates see, and that way it might not be so such an inundation with like, hey, Instagram's, Miss Isaac's thing now, and you need to do, because then they'll be like, oh, come on, why she got to ruin it? I don't know why they think that way, but they do. Because I kind of went through that with my students too. But that's just one suggestion. Whether if it was like you said, maybe, or no, actually, you didn't say this, but like I was thinking while you were talking about, like maybe combining the paper, the tangible with the digital. So like putting those Instagram images on a board, or having kids actually like share out what they would do, taking the Instagram themes. But if not all kids want to do it on a phone, maybe opening options to make it universal. But those are just suggestions. But I love where you're going with that, with blending those worlds, the social and the academic. Really
Thank
nice.
you.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much. It's like every time I'm watching another presentation, another great idea. So thank you very much for sharing. And
Thank you.
please let us know at the end when the students react. It would be interesting to see their reflections on their yearbook project.
Thank you.
All right. Who is next? Celinda? Hi, Celinda. I have a problem with the
Hi.
the mic.
It's my time slot isn't until tomorrow, but I thought that I thought it was part of I guess maybe I misunderstood. I thought we were supposed to join at least one other or watch a couple of other sessions.
No,
I mean,
a couple of other students is fine. So
okay. Yeah, my time slot's tomorrow at 7:30, so I'll be ready then.
We'll talk to you later. So,
Okay, I'm sorry.
Did anybody else have now? I had 6:45 tonight, so did anybody else have to go?
you. Sorry.
Okay, no,
You're up, Gina.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
I'm enjoying everyone's presentations. Okay.
While you're taking it easy, we can still comment on Shanice. Did I say it right, Shanice?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right, I think you're going to screen share. Okay, perfect.
Okay, so
All right, you're ready.
okay, so this was the Weebly that I made for my portfolio, and first I'd like to share some challenges this year that I had, and then we'll end on the positive note with things that I think went well. That way, it can end on a high note. Some serious challenges this year were kind of along the lines of what other people said already. Coaching, where you're working with teachers, some different ages and different levels of experience, and you're coming in as the novice teacher with your recommendations. Kind of like Jen said, I'm only 3 years in, Jen, and when you said 4 years, I was like, oh, and she still considers herself new too. I get it. And you're trying to say, here's my advice because I'm fresh out the gate with this, and people look at you like, oh, but you'll see, like, you'll get tired and another initiative will be pushed on us and you'll get it. And I'm like, but there's promise in this. Like, there are some things that are not going to go away. And you're trying, that was a battle for me, kind of picking how I present things to colleagues that I was helping. Another challenge was working around some tech deficits. We have students who have one-to-one Chromebook access we are a race to the top winning school. Students all have Chromebooks to take home because we're flipping instruction and trying to convert the school climate to all personalized learning, which is wonderful. But when students sign their agreement and take their Chromebook, they are explained that they're signing that they agree to do homework and classwork no matter what. So if they don't have internet at home, the expectation is they're going to walk to McDonald's or Dunkin' Donuts and get Wi-Fi. Now, when you have a student come in and say, Ms. Ferrantelli, I had to get my siblings off the bus and start dinner, and I was not walking in the rain to McDonald's to get my Wi-Fi, I'm not going, I'm not going to expect them to do their homework. Like it's the reality. So kind of working on the school's expectations, but the reality of the givens. For example, we made these beautiful the PowerPoint interfaces for a program that could be used as a unit in multimedia and authoring. And then when the time came for me to implement it, I had to get in touch with a teacher in another district because we don't have desktops anymore. So I didn't have any computer ready to run PowerPoint. Now there was one class, a computer class that had computers, but I could not line up any class times with their available times and they were doing projects and they couldn't. So that was a big challenge this year. I ended up relying a lot on Google add-ons because they're compatible with the Chromebooks and finding, not quite the same, but similar replacements for other apps and things that we had used in the past. And it taught me a lot about troubleshooting and kind of simplifying and using the tools that are really most necessary and not just having the kids use programs, because they look flashy and seem great, but really finding the things that are going to get the job done. Because we didn't really have time to spare when we're trying to troubleshoot a bunch of other things with the change of technology. A month into the school year, they took the computers away and we didn't know that was happening. So I had to think on my feet a lot. So that'll segue into growth, I guess. Some highlights that I want to share in my portfolio include under Standard 1, hold on, I have to load. A presentation I designed on deeper learning across the curriculum, because with personalization and flipped instruction, the end goal is always a deeper understanding for all students. So if students are struggling, you want to get them proficient. If students are coming in proficient, you want to send them above and beyond. So I made a presentation on how to make more class time to offer deeper learning experiences. And then I gave some evidence of how my classroom culture kind of changed when I started flipping and personalizing instruction. So for example, interactive word walls, like this is where the students receive vocabulary lessons digitally, but then the tangible element of reinforcing through handwriting and drawing and all of that did not have to go away. Because while they receive the content in flipped videos and Edpuzzle videos and all of that and talking to each other and doing digital discussion boards, they still were able to keep interactive notebooks and keep a word wall like this. So this is where I felt that I wasn't just selling myself out to the computer, like I said, for the sake of being fancy, but this is where we were doing what works. And we were really able to blend technology and paper where it best fit. And the classroom, having class consultants where students were on their computers doing an assignment, to actually be able to get up and go talk to a student that was, proficient at something they needed help in. That was also keeping the human connection, even if they were doing a virtual discussion board. Again, to blend that in-person interactivity with the digital, because I'm very big on not abandoning the face-to-face and not abandoning handwritten notes and things that are proven to tie better to memory psychologically. It's more about a dovetailing of the things that are best practices. So that was something that I think led to more deeper learning experiences this year. Another area of my program that I was happy with in the end was, not my program, my portfolio, sorry, was, sorry, again, it's just a little lag with the internet, was with trying to find more digital approaches to reach students. I started using Google Classroom my first year at Middletown, and then still found that for me, it was still overwhelming because the Facebook type feed, while I think that dates and times are sufficient to help students locate assignments and time-stamped emails reminding students that something's posted, I thought that was enough, but it may not be for some students. So we actually moved toward a digital unit calendar that looks like this. So at the beginning of every marking period, students get their essential question or multiple essential questions, a little summary of how it blends to social studies, because we have a humanities project where our themes from English connect to global history. All the Common Core standards are here. We go over them, break them down, explain what they mean, so we're transparent with why we're doing what we're doing. Students can look ahead at any texts or projects they'll be doing. And then I kind of color code the days so students know what do they need to prepare to work with others? Is it a quiz day? And then the standards are here. Their daily objectives, which are the unpacked standards, unfold throughout the week. And then all of their classwork or notes they could just click open and access day by day. So there's never a question. While Google Classroom now has the ability to share assignments with parents, before I realized they had that ability, I was emailing this calendar to parents. So it was just another way for students. Oop, that's going to start. Sorry. I apologize. Stop. Okay, so there, that would be an example of a screencast of notes that I would share with them through the calendar. Something else that I found to be a highlight of digital teaching while in the program at NYIT would be, just a second, sorry guys, my internet's a little slow. Would be this project that I did. I outlined a technology integration plan here in Standard 5 to promote strategies for accessing digital tools. And one piece of evidence I gave that showed how important it was to introduce students to different tools they could use to reach the same goal was this assignment I did here. So this is where I felt that blending things we learned from Foundations 2 and diversity and differentiation and universality in teaching would come together with PD I have my district on flipped instruction and personalized learning, and then combined with things we learn in assessment. And this is where it really clicked for me, was when I assigned this assignment. So students annotated a song by Kendrick Lamar during a poetry unit and how to identify conflicts that the artist implied during his song. And when they identified all of the conflicts, they had to put them either on scraps of paper, on a whiteboard or poster paper, or they could use Bubble Us to make a mind map if doing it on paper was overwhelming and they want to do it digitally. And this was a student who was halfway done. And already I was able to see that a student who would become frustrated, crossing out, crumbling up paper, and usually give up, was starting to really do some organized higher order thinking, where the student was able to identify the different conflicts and start organizing them in a manner and keep moving these around to backtrack until they start to find a root cause. This student, I have to put the updated version in here, eventually identified perspective, cultural perspective, as the root cause for all the other conflicts that this artist was facing. Because differences between people's perspectives cause those other horrible situations, such as oppression, racism, hate, poverty, and situations where people cannot see eye to eye. And the student was actually able to rearrange this to show a cycle of cause and effect. So Bubble Us was really important because I also introduced it to a colleague, and Ms. Diaz, who used Padlet here. She also did this with her class with Romeo and Juliet and perspectives and conflicts between the two families, and she gave the same results, that students who normally do get frustrated and get discouraged and just say, I want to know the answer, actually enjoyed it. It was almost like therapeutic for them to drag the bubbles around the screen and without any fear of like looking silly for throwing on a piece of paper, it was very discreet, and they could do it either in groups or collaboratively. So that was really awesome. I guess I would say overall the biggest strengths were taking methods from, again, like Foundations 2 and realizing that they combine and really dovetail with a lot of PDs that we're doing this year. And a consultant that works at my district put it best recently. She said, your district is always trying to throw new things your way, and teachers see it as things just stacking on each other like blocks that don't fit. And she compared it to an I Love Lucy episode where Ethel, Ricky, Lucy, they're all trying to throw things in the trunk to go on a trip, and they all keep stacking things in the trunk without consulting with one another. And then they go to close the trunk and nothing fits, and they can't get, they end up, missing their trip. And we said that's what happens when there's not enough communication between administration and TOSAs and technology coaches and teachers, because really all of the training that we're doing in grad classes should really dovetail with the training we're doing professionally with out-of-district consultants and with, Obama's movement to introduce more technology to students and with Common Core. Like, these things should all really be going like this. But when there's not enough communication, it seems like a bunch of extra things to do that don't fit and make our lives easier. And I would say this this semester is when things really clicked, and I was able to see the fluidity and how one thing helps to make another thing easier, and the students were able to see it too. So I would say that was the biggest success, was my mindset changing about technology, not being a burden to add into the classroom, but a tool to make all these other pieces of personalization and Common Core happen more seamlessly. So that's my presentation. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Gina. I applaud you with this beautiful website, and it's a
Thank you.
design as well. Thank you for sharing, and I hope you all post your portfolios on this page and put next to it that I'm allowed to share with the next cohort, because all your work is very inspiring. And coming back to your comment about piling things on top, that's what I think the teachers are confused, students are confused, there's too much going on at the same time. So it is the reality, and nobody's taking anything out, nobody's simplifying, they keep adding, and it's becoming a chaos. And then now they say Common Core is going away, so I don't know what's going to happen. So public schools always a test ground, right? It's always and then private sector is doing all this project-based learning stuff, and just like you were talking, Jennifer, earlier, how they are doing the innovation, and public schools, especially where the pedagogy of poverty in place, most of the urban schools, unfortunately, are becoming a test ground. The more they fail, the more they think the problem is there are not enough tests to these students. So they give more tests, they give more grill and drill, and we lose more quality, more innovative teaching. I don't know if any one of you heard, I will put the quote in a second here in the chat. There is this professor who did a study between Asian culture and US culture. And we always look for the Asian culture because they're getting high scores in international tests like PISA and TIMSS. So they were wondering, why they're getting higher. So when they found that, it's actually, they are not doing any creativity. They're just working on grill and drill. And all the Asian students coming to US because they like the innovation here. So somehow his quote goes something like this: as the Asian society is trying to close the creativity gap, we here trying to close the achievement gap. So I'll try to find the quote and send it to you on the chat later. And any comments from the floor while the next presenter is getting ready to present?
I have a question. Gina, do you find that with your calendar, some students try to go ahead and do things ahead of time without actually learning the information? Or no?
I mean,
not at like the ninth grade level?
Question. That's, some are intrinsically motivated. There's a
Well, mine are 7th graders, and so, yeah.
Well, actually, part of personalization is that if the students are ready to go ahead, there's no reason for me to hold them back. Now, I've seen some social studies teachers claim that they have mastery level project-based learning in their classrooms where the students are essentially at different paces all the time, but that was way too much for me. Our skills build on each other so much. We're not just content-based, where we're just memorizing the facts. They do need certain reading and writing skills, right, like math, that need to build on each other. So I needed so many benchmarks. And for me, they were either weekly or every 2 weeks, depending on how long a unit had to be. But if a student wants to work ahead a day or two, especially if I know they're not going to be in school, I invite them to, get it done now, if I can see they're proficient. But the part is, you need to have, this is a perfect example, okay? So this is where digitized and our paperless activity in my high school actually now comes together with another training we've had on scoring to standards, where we had author Jane Pollack, who's done a lot of brain research on child learning and adult learning, keeps reinforcing the idea that if you focus on the actual standard at hand that you're teaching that day, and could just kind of like assign a 1 through 4 score while walking around the room to these kids and either communicate to them or put it on a checklist or have them score themselves, you kind of always have an idea of where kids are at. And we know this, like if we're circulating around our rooms and not just at our desk while an activity is going on, the kid that was on his phone, or the girl that worked ahead, or the kid. We always have that idea, but actually just putting it down somewhere to reflect on, you kind of, and if you're regularly giving, checkpoints, formative assessments, quizzes, the kids that are proficient enough to move ahead. And that needs to, proficient, she also discusses there's really no idea mastery that we want them to reach, because whenever you do something more rigorously, they're not going to be masterful at it anymore. When they do the same skill next year or in college, they're not masters of it. So we want them proficient, and you kind of have to meet that definition with you and your department. So I guess in short, even though I'm rambling, I do want them to work ahead sometimes only by a day or two, but they have to prove to me that they are ready to work ahead. They can't say, I'm doing my homework, so I don't have any homework tonight, and then fail an ed puzzle video, because I see everything live time. Or if I do an assignment in class, I'm walking around and checking it. So they shouldn't be moving on. And I'm someone that a quiz grade's not set in stone. They retake their quizzes. If you didn't score, at least a 65 or 70 and above, I would say 75 is my standard as, in my classroom, then why? That's when I need to pull that kid for remediation. Or if that kid will be honest, they'll say, I didn't really watch the video. I half listened and clicked through the questions, or I forgot, or I actually never hand took the notes and that's why I didn't remember it. Or they'll say, I honestly just don't get it. And that's when we pull and there's direct instruction given. So even if I initially delivered the content via slides or ed puzzle or something else, my job as a teacher giving one-on-one verbal instruction and modeling does not go away, because oftentimes it's going to be needed, and I'll just pull them to the side and have a little group, and then you kind of send them back and it all kind of works out. So sometimes it's a little messy. It's a lot of tracking on your end, but it's more in-class grading, and I really don't take any grading home. Except I'm an English teacher, so an essay or things at length, if it's summative and I could really sit and give them detailed feedback, yeah, I take that home, but that's once in a while. So yeah, some want to work ahead, but they really only usually want to if they know that they passed or did well on an assignment. And they have to prove it to me before they could do that.
Thank you.
That makes sense. I think that's great.
Gina, I have a question for you. I just realized that we work in the same school district.
Oh, where do you work?
I am at Presidential. I'm a fourth grade teacher there.
School. So all the tea that we have is in your building.
And I'm glad you brought some things up. Even though we are flooded with technology, one of the things I find is that even though if I set an assignment, and I love using Google Classroom, I don't know if you can prioritize you can move your assignments around.
And now you can even
they've added so many features.
Catching up.
Right, so you can move your assignments around to prioritize them. But one of the things, like you said, that I find is that even with us having technology, I still have to plan around the students that have no access to technology outside of the classroom. So when I'm planning a project, or if it's a piece of homework, I have to be very careful about what I'm giving students. So, even with technology, yes, in school, they have access to it there, but outside of school, it becomes a big issue sometimes. It's good and it's bad.
I agree with you. I wish I had an answer, because I'm transparent with them. I say, I'm trying to teach you accountability. When you get to college, I always had nightmares in college that I was going to go in on the first day and have an assignment past due and not realize it. And then I got to my senior year and that happened, because we were supposed to read our syllabus 2 weeks before during summer, and we had an introduction activity and I missed it. And I tell them this and they don't believe me. And I say, no, you could fail if you don't do things at home. And I don't have an answer, because I'm sure, as you've seen and as you've picked up from our leadership, we cannot have students fail for homework. So I take half off if there's a prep assignment, like a 5-minute vocabulary. They call it prep because I don't care when they get it done, as long as it's not in another class or it's before my class. If they don't have it done when they get to my class, I give them half credit for doing it. And if they blatantly choose not to do it, well, they have to do it anyway, again, for that readiness to move on to the classwork, but then it's a 0, but that kind of defiance you rarely ever see. But I have not reached a solution for having students explicitly accountable when we don't really know are they lying? What is their home situation? And some kids, your heart breaks for them. So I hear you. I do. I don't know what the long-term effects of this will be, but I don't think we have a lot of choice.
Right. And you don't want to create a digital divide among your students. So you need to make sure when you give an assignment, going to a McDonald's to get an access is also forcing them somehow to get some, food. So it's not like just go to a Starbucks and get an internet.
Right.
Sometimes you need to buy
Right.
something to sit over. So I think
We have students that do live in the middle of the city that could walk easily to some places, and we have students that live up a county road, that
there's no
in
McDonald's.
apartments that are not necessarily with internet, but if they walk down Route 78, that is most dangerous. And sometimes I see them and I'm like, no, like, I hope they're not going to just do their homework. Like, I think this, because it's like, I don't know if it's worth, the lessons we're trying to instill. I think if we hold them somewhat accountable, which is why I do the half credit, but we're discouraged from killing them with zeros. And it's a tough thing to deal with, but I don't know what our choices really are, Jen.
Thank you for the great questions and ideas and the dialogue. Now, Lauren, I hope you're ready. Let's move on. And thank you for the great points. And if you haven't posted your links, please, I see some of the links are empty. Please post your links if you want to share with them with the next cohort of students on our page. All right, Lauren, you ready?
Okay.
Go ahead.
This is my first time ever doing a screen share through this, so I'm still working on it. One thing that I wanted to start with is I used Canva. I've recently discovered Canva in probably the last year, and I think it's one of the best tools for the classroom because, one, it's so user-friendly, and two, you can use it for anything. I like it. I liked more when I was introduced to that. I like this one more because there's just so much that you can do with it, and they already have templates made out for you. So mine today I call the climb, because I feel like sometimes with these technology experiences that we have, it's just an uphill battle. So whether it's the lack of technology, whether it's administration, whether it's the lack of support from colleagues or anything else like that, there's just so many things that we have to overcome in order for our students, for our school, our districts, us to be successful. So that's why I went with that. So what I want to show you is my ePortfolio. I'm not going to go through it because I pulled things that I wanted to talk about into my Canva presentation, but there was just some things about this that I thought were really cool. So this is I did my ePortfolio on Google Slides, or not Google Slides, excuse me, Google Docs. And I learned how to create the tabs. So if I click on this one, it's going to take me to my philosophy. And the next one, if I wanted, this would take me to the second standard and all of those lovely things. I was really excited to input this because I am the Google guru of my district. And so the more things that I learn and that I find useful, I can pass on and share. And I just think it's exciting. It's exciting for me to be able to learn these things so that I can turn around and teach them and have other people excited about learning them as well. So let's go back. Here we go. So one of my favorite quotes is from Arthur Ashe, who is a tennis legend, and he says, "Start where you are, use what you have, and do what you can." And what I think is so important about this in education and for us as coaches is that there's always something we can do. We can work with what we've got. We can, we have, okay, you have no desktops. Okay, you're willing to work with that. You're willing to make some accommodations so that you can make it work for your students, because the whole process of what we do is to just better the education of our students. And I think so many of us just have that goal in mind. And maybe it's because we're all still new in this education process, but I think it's important. And I think if there's anything that we have that we can hold on to, this spunk, this drive that we have to improve our education, improve the education of our students, our districts, and everything, and so on, then I think, that overall I want to make a difference goal that we had way back when we started education as like freshmen in undergrad is still there inside us. No, wrong way. Why is this not going? There we go. Okay. So these are the things that I wanted to just discuss. My first one was a challenge. There's this woman in my district. Her name is Kim. She is a lovely woman, and she is very technologically impaired. And she came to me after I did the Google presentation of implementing Google Classroom, and was just interested in figuring out how she could implement some of these things that I've been talking about into her classroom. And this is the same woman who sent her laptop home with me because a printer needed to be deleted and then reinstalled in order for her computer to work correctly. So she didn't know what she needed to be doing, even at the basic levels, but she wanted to learn. And I think the fact that she was so interested in changing it, in making these improvements for herself and her students, was just phenomenal. So a lot of my professional development hours for this course were working with her. And we started with the basics. And what's really funny is as we were working through different things, I created like this Google Doc of notes for Kim. So if I were to go through some of these, like I said, some of the very basics, just the main Microsoft shortcuts. My favorite one is Control F. It allows you to find something that you're looking for in a document, in a PDF, on the internet page, anything like that. So we did anything from learning the shortcuts to learning how to save things as a PDF, creating Gmail folders, working with Google Calendar, and just looking at some of the basic level technology resources that we have available to us in our district, either that the district pays for, or we just have access to them with our safety nets and our locked screens and all those things. So she is, as much as it was a challenge, she is my success story because she's able to implement these things into her classroom, and she started as the person who was absolutely willing to give up the mouse. Everyone's mentioned that needing patience and how this job has taught you that patience is key. Well, I knew that I had patience, and it was one of the reasons why I went to this, is because I love teaching people who are enthusiastic about what they're learning. And so I want those teachers who are you want to know what? You're going to be better at this. Here, you do it, to take the control of the mouse themselves, to take notes, to take on the notes that I created for you, and just kind of start compiling it all to make their classroom a better place for teaching and learning. The other thing, I had a surprise. I created some infographics. We had a discussion a couple weeks back about different ways to use infographics and resources to make them. And my most recent one is one for Google Drive. And this is the infographic that I created and shared with a number of the members in my district, because like I said, I am the Google guru, and it's just nice to have a resource where like, okay, so I forgot what I need to do, let me look back. I know Lauren sent me something with this. And after I sent this one out, I actually started to get requests for other infographics to make, because yes, the tutorial videos are helpful, but these ones, the infographics, helps teachers to realize, help the administration or whoever happens to be looking at it realize there are things that I know how to do, and these are just the basic guidelines. These are just the basic notes that are referable in your Google Drive or wherever else you decide to save it to. So both with the infographics and my basic technology notes that I shared, what I really was not only surprised but made me happy to hear was I talked to one of my coworkers about it, and they asked if I was willing to share my notes with them, because to have a list of the shortcuts, just to have all of these little things in one place to refer back to, just like Jen was saying with her Google Classroom, just have one place for all these resources is so helpful for all of these people who may not be so great with technology but are still willing to do so. They're still willing to learn, and they're eager to learn about it. My last part's a little bit extra. I am so very lucky to be in the district I am, for education purposes, for technology purposes, because we are a very small school district, and our big goal is to make an impact. Let's make a difference. Let's do what we can. And so the administration and my colleagues are so incredibly supportive in the entire process of the technology implementation, whether it's been to help assist me in collecting professional development hours for classes, or whether it is, eager to learn about different things in our district. Recently, in the last year, we got Castle Learning. So I'm teaching teachers how to use Castle Learning, implement it into the classroom, so that potentially we can go to doing interim assessments and that kind of data collecting in Castle Learning. And so it's been phenomenal. It's been a phenomenal experience for me. And
That's awesome to hear.
And I just wanted to say thank you to all of you, because I am getting into the very last one. I have one more class in August and I'm done. And I really am going to miss all of this independent professional development through these things, through these ideas of collaboration of, well, this is what I did with my kids. Well, I love that you have that idea. What if you did this? And just that instant collaboration is awesome, because it's not always that way in the places that you work, because usually we're the ones with most of the knowledge. And so to hear these great, inspiring ideas that students loved, that they encouraged, is just exciting. And I know that whole continued learning, I know that because I enjoy what I do so much, maybe 10 years, 15 years from now, I may be a little more tired, but like Gina said, there's some things that are not going to go away. And I really hope a lot of these things don't, because they are just inspiring to work with these students in this type of thing. They are just eager to continue their own learning, and there's just so much that I want to know, and I want to be a foundation of knowledge, useless or otherwise, for my students. And this whole technology pathway was just a great way for me to do it, especially because I teach math and so many students don't love it, and I get that. You're not going to love ratios as much as Ms. Hazen, and I'm totally aware of that, but they appreciate the things that I'm showing them, whether it be technology or just skill-wise, and that in its own is a success. So thank you.
Thank you, Lauren. Thank you very much. And I really, really appreciate your passion. And when you say I am in the best place I could be, I am applauding you. Sometimes it's how you feel. Because if you look at everything from a negative point of view, I'm sure you'll find things to complain. But I'm glad that you're making things amazing. And I love those. I love the way you're using Canvas. That's number one. But also those infographics. They are really becoming more and more popular. And I think teaching the kids that skill will be a good idea too, so they can create their little posters. That's a good presentation tool that they can bring their graphics and statistics and everything. So that's beautiful. While we are hearing from others for a response, I think, Charles, you're next. Please prepare yourself to present. So comments from the floor, please.
I just want to say I agree that your visuals are amazing, and we previously talked about how much money is in the infographic business, and I've seen infographics that our district paid for, that the students made better ones. So I think it is a great skill. And even just your overall demeanor, just keep this positivity. Keep it going. Spread that.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Any other comments?
I just want to piggyback on that. I think it's a little bit infectious seeing how you have taken ownership of sort of the Google guru, and you're offering that skill set to your school district. I want to say I'm like unapologetically, but you're just saying, this is something that I'm passionate about. I believe I can share with people. You're taking ownership of it, creating, and it's just as a fellow teacher to see that, it's impressive, but it's also, like I said, infectious. It makes me want to consider, okay, what things can I offer as well? And I think it benefits the community as a whole. So just to encourage you with that, I thought that was great.
Well, thank you. I'm really lucky because my district is making all of these changes and trying to make all of these improvements, because we do have a phenomenal superintendent backing us on all of this. So we had, last summer, they offered to pay me to take these Google module classes so that I could then teach them to the other teachers. They actually opened it up to all of the teachers out there, and as I jumped on that opportunity. So,
Lauren, can I just say that in every school you're going to find one of those teachers. 2 years ago, I was at another school in our district. I was transferred there from where I am now, and I spent a year there. And I remember seeing this older teacher who, we have sharpboards. And what she did was she piled everything. She never turned that sharpboard on, didn't know where the buttons were, just did not want to deal with technology because she was close to retirement. And I somehow just went in there. I just started NYT, and I said, I have to get you on board with this because I think you're doing, and she was my very good friend. I said, I think you're doing the kids a disservice by not using technology. I'm not saying you have to use it all the time, but you have to use it because it's in your classroom. And a lot of times when she would get observed, that is what she got downgraded on, from not using the sharpboard. And it was just about finding the power button, knowing how to do this, how to use the mouse, just simple things. And I would tell you, she became, like your teacher, one of those people that you really look forward to working with, because she was close-minded at first, but I guess my approach, and she realizes that I am a new teacher, but you know what, I have something to offer. And she did listen. So eventually she was able to turn the smartboard on, started using it for little, because I think she taught first grade or kindergarten. And I said, you can still use it for stuff like that. She's retired now, but I will tell you, every school has one of those teachers that just don't want to be bothered with technology at all.
absolutely. And whether it's they don't want to be bothered with it, or they have so many other things that it's not their top priority. So it's little bites, it's little steps. It's teaching them maybe one or two things, because if you teach them more than three, nothing will stick. So it's one or two things at a time, and just small little pieces, and letting them practice it while you're there to help them.
Yeah. Very nice to see you do that as a young person. Very nice to see that.
Thanks.
Makes me proud to be a teacher.
All right. Charles, are you ready?
I'm ready, but I don't know that my video is sharing right now. For some reason.
You need to hit the share screen, the green button.
Well, I think I can share a screen, but my video on my webcam on my laptop won't turn on.
Yeah, mine didn't either.
Okay, so you guys won't be able to see me, but hopefully be able to see what I have.
Oh, yeah. You can usually share screen, but
Yeah.
I need to restart my computer to be able to see the video portion. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I'm gonna share my screen, and what I have is let me make sure I have the right one here. I did my portfolio through Weebly, and I think a couple other people had used Weebly, and if you haven't, I would suggest trying it out. It's a pretty simple tool that makes some pretty impressive looking things. I mean, I made my wedding website with this that we put on the invitations, and it worked pretty good. So I think I'll just kind of click through a couple of the things I have here before I talk about some of the accomplishments and struggles and things like that. So I start off with my philosophy and a quote that I've always liked. I think I saw it in my standards booklet my freshman or sophomore year, maybe in my health education program. It was like right in the front page. It says, "No knowledge is more crucial than the knowledge about health. Without it, no other life goal can be successfully achieved." And I always like to remind myself and people of that, because it is a pretty important thing. I think maybe a healthy attitude goes along with that. And I think as teachers, we need to maintain a healthy attitude with regard to our practices and what's coming next. The next couple sections I have here, I have a section on varied learners, just some different methods of instruction, and my take on it with a sample unit down here at the bottom. Some educational goals that I've developed and that I've come up with that are important to me in being successful. And if I go over to more, I have my, I'm going to save this slide kind of towards the end, my ISTE standards. I have some examples of just some technology tools in the classroom. And some of these are some very simple things, and I'm going to come back to this page actually. And then just some links to some professional development videos and stuff. I have some tutorial pages that I'm going to add over here on this side. And coming back to my standards, I set it up on a page like this, and then each button will take me to each standard with a link to my artifact, my rationale, and all of those. So if we click on it, then it takes you out to a separate link for the different pieces. But coming back to this Tech in the Classroom page, this has a few screenshots of some things that I had been using and have used them for a little while now. And it's something that there's some very small things that have made a bigger impact than I would have expected. And I think that the accomplishment that I saw the most and the biggest benefit was that my mentality changed just on a daily basis as I went through my own teaching practices and my interactions with my colleagues. I seem to consider things a little bit differently. And I think Lauren mentioned the Control F function to find something on a page. That's something that I've known how to do and something that I've used for a long time, looking through large pieces of text or a website or something like that. And not something that I had ever actually shared with anyone because I never thought to. But with this kind of new mentality of making efforts to be a technology coach, in conversation, someone was actually trying to show me something on the computer. And I just mentioned, if you hold Control and push F, then you can type it in and it'll show you where that word is. And they had no idea that function existed. And they're pretty good with the computer and the technology stuff. So I think that overall, the biggest accomplishment was that my mindset changed a little bit. And I was more apt to share what I was doing with my colleagues. Something like in this corner here, this is a screenshot of a random name picker that is fun and interactive and promotes student engagement and participation. It's not the most complex tool that there is, but it's something that the kids enjoy a lot, that's easy enough to input names into. And it's just one of those things where I was able to mention it to someone. And they really like that idea. And I think the more I talk to people, the more kind of little tidbits of technology I put out there. And that made people more comfortable with coming to me to ask me a question if I needed to, or to look for a problem. Or when it came to the laptop cart, there were a lot of people that just kind of had written it off and were saying, well, no, that doesn't ever work. And I was able to kind of track down some of the problems, and when they asked me, well, how do you do that in your class? I said, well, I use the laptop cart that I maintain. And they said, well, I thought it didn't work. And I said, no, it does. It's just you just have to have a little bit of an understanding about it, and if you need help with it, I can help you with it. And so I think it built a little bit more of a rapport by starting out with small pieces, and getting the kids and the teachers a little bit more engaged. Some teachers that were teaching in the building when I went to school in the building, who I wouldn't think would ever want to do too much of a big endeavor with technology, something like creating a class library, digital library of student work, because it takes a lot of effort. But some other options and some other avenues that were tech related, they were very into, and they've actually kind of brought ideas to me to continue. One specifically was with my counterpart, who's the health teacher, who he's been teaching since I went to school, and he's got everything pretty well ironed out by this point. And I had mentioned that I found a virtual reality for drunk driving, like a simulation for the kids to watch, because we have the technology of they call them fatal vision goggles, where the kids put them on, and it almost turns into an entertainment kind of thing, where they can tend to lose the gravity of what we're teaching them. And so by combining it with that virtual reality, it gives them a little bit more of a real life experience. And that was something that he thought was really cool. And it actually turned out that I started to look into the Google Cardboard and those different viewers. And it turned out that another teacher who had heard us talking found some of the viewers in Michael's, I think, on a clearance rack. They're not the most technologically advanced ones, but they do work, and the kids are really interested in it, because that's what's on the forefront of their minds as far as technology goes. So it was something that I think it gave me the confidence to put things out there, and also a little bit of a better understanding of what's going to work for certain teachers and what might not work for certain teachers. And the only other struggle that I was really met with was just the time constraints that people had after school. There's people either have a lot going on, or they had a lot going on during the day, and so it was a lot of during school time that I had to do my practicum hours with, which it worked out better for my schedule also. But I think it was one of those things that might be a slow change, is the willingness to jump right in. And I think as more and more implementations and more resources are crept into the curriculum and into the culture of the school, I think it'll get better. But that seemed to be something that was pretty consistent throughout. I had some groups that were very into it, and I did more than one experience and more than one tech thing with them. And then there were others that they didn't have the time. And I think eventually, there will be a more acceptance as it becomes more and more common. Not everybody used email and used projectors, and you don't see too many overheads projectors out anymore. So we do make the changes. It just may not be super fast to start. But that was kind of my collective thoughts on my experience in this. I think it was something that I enjoyed, because with health ed being a non-core subject, it kind of gives me a way to have an even bigger reach into helping students with those core areas of their school. And I think that, without the pressure of adhering to Common Core standards and worrying about state tests and things like that, it gives me a little bit of a better opportunity to be the one to develop this technology ideas and to share them with people and almost be the guinea pig or the person that figures it out first. But so I don't know if any questions, or that's kind of my take on it all.
Thank you, Charles.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. Thank you for sharing your resources. You sound very, very tired today, though. I since we don't have the face-to-face interaction today, I'm also feeling a little bit disconnected. Sorry about that. And I'm also getting ready to take my husband to the airport in half an hour. So sorry if I had some background noise coming up right now. All right, while you're talking to Charles, asking him, giving him feedback, I think we have another Melda Yildiz available for us to present. Is that you, Vincent? Still, it shows Melda Yildiz, right?
Yeah, I have no idea how. I don't know.
All right, at least one of us show up on the videos. Sorry, but what happens is every time I have my laptop, if I don't restart the whole thing from the beginning, I don't have this access to this Zoom video. So apologies. All right. Any comments for Charles? I guess we're all getting tired, right? Have you all eaten?
I gotta admit, the fact that you're willing to admit that your mindset about this whole technology process changed is really a big thing to be able to admit, because I know that a lot of us who go into teaching, okay, I gotta pick a master's, I gotta do a master's. Oh, let me find one that's not too heavy that I can actually use possibly, but it's not gonna be too much, out of what I can already do. And so the fact that you, as your opinion changed on all of this, I think the fact that you're admitting it to us and that you're making these changes in your classroom to better, teach your students, I really admire that.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Keep up the good work, Charles.
We will. We'll try.
And stay connected. Oh, speaking of staying connected, I send out a doodle survey to see if Bear Mountain will be a good area for us to meet and have a nice luncheon or afternoon. I don't know the venue yet. I just put some dates and times. Let me know if these times are, or location is a good place. I looked it up on the map when we all did the community walk page. And I thought maybe Bear Mountain would be a good place. But then I said, oh, maybe we could do geocaching. And I found a lot of great geocaching opportunities in the mountain. But I'm not sure if they have a good internet connection or the cell phone reception. Then I have two good GPS devices. Doesn't require cell phone. It just picks up directly from the satellite. So it might be an exciting opportunity. So let me know if you're interested in such an activity. After you guys decide on the date, I will invite other alumni who graduated last year's, and then maybe the future students who might want to join us. So just to let you know, it's, I think, on the announcement, so take a look at it and stay connected. All right, Winnie, Vincent, Melda.
Am I up?
You're up.
Okay. Let's see if I can share my screen here. All right, you guys see my screen? I hope so.
Yes, I can.
Okay, perfect. So there was a couple of artifacts that I want to go through. I know through the NYIT course, there were certain things that came up that I would gravitate towards. that over and over again I saw myself kind of bringing into my teaching. And a few of them were the UDL, the multimedia, and we did with other classes was STEM, which I was previously unaware of, which sort of opened me up to communicating a little bit more with the teachers in my district than I would have ever have communicated with them before. So with the STEM artifact, I'm building the school community, and some of the highlights were project-based learning, which is something that I know is that I want to move into more. I want to have like very large singular learning objectives that students can work through in a real way. And I teach global history, so sometimes it could be a little tough to try to integrate that, but it's something that I want to move into. And so the STEM program sort of interested me because that's what they were doing. And I found myself talking with a lot of the teachers who were involved in it and going to some of the activities that the STEM program was doing. And so that's the artifact that I'm going to share with you here first. And so our school does called STEM Night. And this is sort of the culmination of the projects and activities that the students work through in their math, science, engineering, or technology classes. This is the and were very good at getting me to put the gloves on and grab the heart, even though I wasn't particularly ready to do it. They were super sold out for what they were doing, I guess I would like to say. So working through the project-based activities really gave the students ownership, again, of what they were doing. So they had different tables set up and how they were working through that. And I made sure that I talked with all the students. I spent a good like 2 to 3 hours of the STEM night talking with students, my own students, finding out what was interesting them, how they got involved in this and how everything was integrated, what computer programs they were using, what did they find difficult, and it was very enlightening for me. This picture here is a 3D printer, and I'm sure at your schools you guys have found that the spinners are very big now. To using those spinners for whatever reason, and they're actually making a spinner here with the 3D printer. And I this dude here, if you guys have ever went to take the trash out of your garbage bin, you know how it kind of gets like sucked in there a little bit if it's a little too overpacked. Well, they were working on a solution to make sure that doesn't happen. So he has like a gyroscoping trash bag here that the thing goes down and the bag comes right out. So issues, real problems. They had a specific goal to meet, and throughout the year in each of their classes for this. And I was able to meet with this student working on a hangar, and so he was me. And I just had amazing time with this. This goes back to the school community, just working with other disciplines. Even in our own classes, being able to figure out how students can integrate learning from one area into another area and kind of take it with them and have that choice on what they want to do. And we just kind of offer them the tools. We get so good at understanding the resources, we could just offer them the resources and they can grab. These are just some here with the students. Medical was involved in this, and biology was in. We have circulatory. We have a little bit of astronomy, engineering. My students were working on computers. We see some robots here racing. Autodesk was a program that one of them used to create a sustainable town. Each of them had to take a different part of the town and actually figure out how that town is. It was a fun project that they're solving. So this was my students here that they really took on. And I want to move forward as a teacher and integrate into my own classroom, getting the students to be more to work through real world issues, to make real connections, and to use the skills that they have to do that. And so that would stem from building a community, a school community. And another artifact I want to share, which is very different in its meaning, was a multimedia interactivity that I created and tried to implement with my students. And some of my other colleagues at the school did the same thing. I work at Middletown, and we are a very tech trendy school district for sure. And we've heard already that the students have their own Chromebooks and everything. It's rare found students in the classroom. And so it might be luck when a student has the ability to use technology. And I know that some students don't have internet access at home, and one of the ways I found it was very difficult to utilize the technology that and the resources available to get this. And implementing technology the way that with the Chromebooks, there is no access to computer labs anymore. That's kind of put to the wayside. So I found myself having to contact so many different teachers to try and get into their classrooms where they have desktop computers. And I was able to do that for one period. But in order to make sure that my students had access to this program, I stayed after school 5 different days in a 3-week period, and went to multiple different computer labs, and then students could stay after school with me. And it was great. I mean, I had probably 70 students complete it, and I offered a secondary assignment for those students that were unable to complete this multimedia activity. But I found that the computer labs were super difficult to get into. And even when we did, the computers were like, they had to have been 10 years old or plus, and they had a very difficult time running the program. And so simple things like running the technology that I wanted to run became super hard and very frustrating for the students. And it reminded me once again that as a teacher, I constantly have to be advocating for those students who don't have the ability to access this. And sometimes we need to be reminded, I think, that just because we have all these things, it doesn't necessarily mean that our students are able to utilize them. And we need to make sure that they can utilize them. We need to be personable in this 21st century. We need to continue to stay connected and face to face with our students and know what's going on, because I think sometimes we can get so lost in all of the resources and stuff, which are great, that we can miss the human aspect of it and what's really going on at home and with our so very quickly, was another thing that I really gravitated towards. And with my homework, I wanted to always make sure that I offered my students multiple means of learning information. And so I have math of myself, because I feel like the students enjoy kind of hearing, okay, there's Mr. Barone, and they can hear my voice and they can get the information from me. And utilize link to a larger image, seeing some of the smaller print artifacts. And I give them a recording using the Vocal tool, so that if they, for some reason, can't read it, then they can listen to it. And then I also have them download the extension Grammarly. So if there's that they don't understand, they can use their Grammarly to then have them draw a little mini pic or make a 1-sentence claim about what they're learning. And I really enjoyed doing the homework this way. It updated automatically for them. And when I stopped doing it for a couple days in a row, some students were wondering, "Where's the homework, Mr. Barone?" So, the thing that impacted me the most of the course.
Hello?
Hello?
All right. Where is the homework? I like that. If if they ask this question, they're craving for homework. That's wonderful. Yeah. No longer the dogs eat it. Last time the joke was something about the virtual realities, and you get lost in the digital world. Yeah, it's interesting. Maybe they have their digital dogs eat it. And that's one of the things I was telling my daughter today. Make sure you save your stuff into another place, because your computer crash and you'll lose. She wrote a 15-page essay, and you know, who knows? It could be a digital cyber attack. Anything could happen, as you hear on the news every day. Excellent, excellent. I love those pictures. One of them was a real heart that they cut and put it in. Is that the picture of a heart?
Yeah, that was a cat heart that they had.
Cat
and they
heart.
cut it in half. And they
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's very interesting. So great projects. And again, when you said technology, students doing still posters, but still having, how can I say, creating those posters, they're still typing it up. So it's not like technology doesn't have to be always buttons and whistles. We still use multiple resources, right? Multiple means to reach the students. So it's pen and pencil still works. So excellent, excellent pictures, and thank you for sharing. Did you had one more slice to share, or that was it?
No, I think that was that.
Okay. All right, any questions? Tonight, this is the last presentation. If you have any comments, any suggestions for tomorrow's session, please put it for the recording. And then tomorrow, if you can join us, we will be happy, but you don't have to. You all did your share of attendance for the presentations tonight. And thank you so much for all your attendance. Okay, questions, comments for Vincent?
I loved the projects. Now, did they do like a competitive science fair thing with them, or they just like, how did that work?
Yeah, I don't know if it was competitive, but essentially they invited all the parents from the community and some of the different groups from school and the teachers. And they did have that STEM night, which they called STEM night, was sort of where they became the professional who worked through this project and developed understanding, and they presented what they had learned to everyone who was going around each of their stations. So I would say it was more of a community gathering at the science fair Saturday night they had.
Very nice.
I did one, attended one STEM night that they did for the parents. It's actually brings the community together. And it really gives the chance to, not only students to present to their peers, but also their parents and other teachers. So it's a celebratory event. And having a STEM focus, it's also wonderful, because most of the projects, it's not like 2D, it has to be in 3D format, or you should be able to see a cat heart in reality. So it's very exciting. Again, thank you for all your attendance. Now go and enjoy the rest of your evening, and all of you for attending and presenting. You got your 5 points. And please let me know if I'm still grading, so please apologize. I am doing my best to catch up on your postings. But if you need to know if you posted an assignment and you really need a quick feedback, let me know. Other than that, stay patient, stay connected. And thank you so much for also considering to do the Bear Mountain geocaching event. It's a family event, so you're welcome to bring your friends and family with you. And I'm still thinking what we should do to do some cookouts or bring some sandwiches, or if we can find a way to get that restaurant. Apparently there's one restaurant there, but I don't know how fast they serve so many of us. So give me suggestions if you have any other location in your neighborhood that might be interested in giving us some ideas. Okay. Good night.
Good night.
You have, I'm going to stop the recording, so you'll be off the recording to ask questions.